Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Cat Forge. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to be finishing the hot dog fork. If you haven't watched part 1, please go back and watch it before you watch part 2. I just want to recap a couple of real quick things. In part 1, we learned how to flatten our steel to a certain width and a certain length. And then we learned how to mark center with our center punch. And then we cut with a chisel. In the last video, I started out using my chisel, which was fine. I could have cut the whole thing with it. But I do prefer using my slitter. It's exactly the same thing as a chisel, but I just wanted to show you what my slitter looks like. It has a handle. So when I hit, I'm not having to worry about hitting my hand if I slip. Also, I can feel like I can hit it harder and cut faster with it. We're going to have a video down the pipe where we're going to make a slitter and a chisel. That's a few lessons down the road, but I just wanted to talk about what this was because I mentioned it in the video, but I never showed it to you. So where we left off, we had our split. And this is what our steel looks like right now at this point. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start working our tines. We're going to get our tines. And when we're done, our tines are going to look very similar to this. So how do we get from here to here? First of all, we're going to work one tine at a time. We're going to heat this up. And we're going to take one of these and we're going to bend it out of the way. We're going to work the other tine. First of all, we're going to straighten it up. And then we're going to gradually taper it in to a triangle shape. That's all we're going to do is we're just going to keep it flat, but we're just going to start tapering the end down to a triangle shape. Once we get happy with that one, we're going to bend it up. We're going to bend the other one down. We're going to do the exact same thing. Our goal is when we put them both down that they're very similar and the same length. That's the most important thing, is that they're the same length. After we get to that point, we're going to heat both of them up. We're going to use the horn of the anvil to get our initial shape right here. Once we get our initial shape, we're going to bring this end in just a little bit and flare this end out a bit. The reason we want to do that is that will hold onto your hot dog or your marshmallows if you want to do 2 marshmallows at a time. But it will hold on to the hot dog. So when you hold it in the fire, the chances of your hot dog falling off and getting burned up is very slim. So I'm going to get the forge lit up. I'm going to get this steel hot. We're going to jump right into working on this. But before we go to the next step, just please go ahead and click like and subscribe. I know I ask you every video to do that, but it's so important to me to get the feedback that you're liking what you're seeing. When you subscribe, you're going to get a notification every time I drop a new video. So it helps you and it helps me. So let's go to the forge, and I'll move the camera to the anvil, and I'll see you in a moment. So the very first thing we want to do, I'm just going to pick a side. It doesn't really matter what side I pick. And all I want to do is just get that side out of my way. That's all I want to do, is I want this side completely out of my way. Okay, so now that we got that bent, this side, I am going to work it down to a taper, like a right triangle is what it's going to look like when I'm done. That's my goal. So I just want to show you how you're going to taper a flat piece of steel down to a triangle. So I'm just using a larger piece of steel so it'd be easier to see. And we're going to stay right there. That's our tine. And while it's hot, we're going to start here, but we're not going to hit it that hard. We're going to tap it. And as we work our way down, we're going to hit it progressively harder. And we're just going to do that all the way down till we have it formed into what I would say would be a right triangle. We'll do the other side. We'll compare the sizes of them, and we may have to do some file work to get them exactly the same, but this is going to be the first step we're going to do. Okay, so we're coming back to the anvil. First thing we want to do is get that straight, and now all I'm going to do as I come down, I just want to start hitting it progressively harder. And as you can see, we're already starting to get that taper on there. We're going to heat it back up and keep working it till we get it. And we may just want to work it on this side just a couple times just to keep it the same dimension. Because if we just work this, it's going to swell, and we don't want that. So we're just about there, probably a couple more heats, and we're going to have it where we want it. Just remember, your hammer blows just get progressively stronger as you go down. Okay, so it's looking really good. If I hold it up this way, you can see that it's tapering down. It's looking like a right triangle, especially if I lay it this way. So let's get it heated up, and I think this next heat will finish this time. And I think that looks pretty good. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to bend this one out, bend this one down. Just one thing, and we haven't ever talked about this in class, is when you're bending your metals like this up and down, always do it at a red heat or more. You remember when you were a kid, or if you're playing with a paper clip and you keep bending it, it's going to break. The same thing's going to happen here if we bend it at a black heat or bend it cold. As we keep going back and forth, we're going to put stressors in it and it will break. So we're going to heat this up and we're going to straighten it, and then we're going to bend the other tine down. So we want to do it at a heat because you don't want to break your work at this point. It would be very sad. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to straighten this up. And interesting, if you look right now, you can see that this has been drawn out just a little bit longer, which is fine. That's our goal. So we want to bend this down on the next heat, and we'll start working on the other tine. So we're going to take our good tine, we're going to bend it down. We're going to take this other tine, and we're just going to get it all good and straight. And we are going to repeat the same process of starting here, and as we work our way down, we're going to hit it progressively harder. So that is the next step. So we're going to start working on our second tine here. Just like the first one, we're just going to progressively increase the strength of our hammer blow as we go down. And we'll get it all straightened back up. And we're going to heat it up. Take another round. Probably one more heat. We will have it. As you can see, it's progressing really nicely. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So the next step is we're going to bend this tine back down. We're going to compare and make sure that they're fairly even. If we have a little bit of a length difference, we'll fix that with the file, and then we'll be able to move on to our next step. So let's get this hot and get it straightened out, and let's see how it looks. So let's get it all straightened back out. So it looks pretty good. This end here is a little thinner than this one down here, but they are fairly even. I'm going to be happy with that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to heat this up. We're going to open it back up, and we're going to start working it on the horn. So I'm going to get this hot. I'm going to move the camera over here to the horn side, and we'll be right back. So while I've got a little bit of heat in here, I'm just going to take my needle nose pliers, and I'm going to separate these a little bit, flatten this back out, and now we're going to put it back in, and we're going to start working this on the anvil horn. So while that's heating up, I'm going to use my existing fork. We're just going to work right here on the tip of the anvil. We don't need to go far back. We're just going to work right here, just to get it separated and to get this nice curve. Then we'll kind of give it a tap to bring it in, and we'll use our pliers to bring out these ends. It's really simple, but this is a good skill to learn how to use the horn, how to work metal on the horn. We've got this good and hot. We're going to set it right there. We're just going to tap it down with the hammer till we get it where we want it. So we got one side done. And right there, that's where we are. That looks pretty good. So we're going to heat it up, and we're going to shape this side, and then we're going to shape the other side. So I'm looking at this, and if we look at this side, it's really nice. It's a nice curve. This has a bit of a curve, but it's not as pronounced. Probably a lot of that is it's more of an optical illusion because this side's just a little thinner than that one. So I'm going to work this and kind of pronounce that bend a little bit. That'll be the next step. We want to make sure everything looks good and even before we proceed to the next side. So now that's beginning to look a lot better. The curves are beginning to match. So we're going to go with that, and then we're going to bring this out just a little bit and that out just a little bit. And probably what we're going to do with this is as we get this hot, I'm going to put it here and I'm going to bend it down with my needle nose pliers. So now we're just going to place this back on the horn about where I want it to flare back out. I'm going to twist it just a little bit. And we're going to come here about the same spot. So it's beginning to take shape. I think right there, that looks pretty good. The one thing I am going to do is, you notice how nice and thin this one is, and this is still a little thick. That's just because the cut was uneven. I'm going to do some file work here, and we're going to lose a little bit of that steel. So I'm going to move over to the vise, and I'm going to show you how to do the filing. I'm not going to have the whole filing on videotape, but I do want to show you how to do some filing when you do want to lose some steel and get it more even. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my half round file right here, and I'm just going to work the edges. Now, a lot of people think you can file back and forth, back and forth. Don't do that. Always file in one direction, because that's the way the blades are set up on the file. And it's just very simple. You just work it with just a little pressure. And eventually, it's going to come off the way you want it to come off. And it will make it look a little bit more even as we do this. The steel is still a little warm, so I'm going to probably have to do some rebending as well once I'm done with file work. So let me get the file work done, and then we will come back and continue working on the hook. Okay, so after doing some filing, I've got the sides, so they're fairly similar now. I moved over to the horn on my farrier anvil, just because this has a much smaller, more pronounced horn than my Peterite. So I've got everything now the way I want it. All I want to do right now is I just want to bend these tines out ever so slightly, and we're going to call it good. So I'm just going to take these and just barely pull them out. Try to get them about the same spot. And I think right there we've got them. I'm happy with that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the anvil and make sure everything's good and straight. And then we're going to move to the handle. All right, so now we got the fork finished and it looks really good. We need to turn our attention to the other end of the hot dog fork, and that's making the handle portion. So let's look at our model and see what we need to do. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to need to make a finial and the loop for hanging, and this is a 2-inch diameter. We're going to do that. The finial is nothing new. We've done this before. This right here is 5 inches of steel to make the loop, plus an inch for the finial. I'm going to center punch 6 inches on the steel so we have a reference point. Here, again, this will just be flattening our steel out to 1/2 inch wide, 4 inches long, and we'll do our twist. As we progress along, we will discuss the steps that we need to do. So I'm going to go back to the forge, get this hot, and we'll be back at the anvil in just a moment. So just like everything else when doing the finial, like we've done in all our other videos, first thing we're going to do is we're going to square the end, and then we're going to raise it up, working it at the edge. We're going to start tapering down to a point, and we work all our sides. And we're going to straighten it back up, and we're going to put it back and get it hot. So as we're working this down, the one thing to keep in mind is on all our hook videos, we had made our finials as very small loops. Since this is going to be on the hot dog fork and it's going to be bigger, we want to make sure that we make this loop a little bigger, just so it fits in with the handle. So now that we got that made, we're just going to start working on the diamonds until it gets a hex shape. And then the next heat, we're going to draw it out and round it. So now, just like we've done in our other videos, we're just spinning the iron with one hand and we're tapping it with the other. We just want to draw out, get it nice and round. And we'll probably give it one more heat before we make. So that looks good. So we're going to heat it up again. And I'm just going to use my rounding pliers or my scrolling pliers to go ahead and bend the finial. Now, real quick before I come back to the anvil, the one thing to keep in mind is we're going to try to make the finial on the same plane as the fork. If for some reason or another you forget, all you'll have to remember is after you make the handle, when you do the twist, that you do the twist to make sure that everything's on the same plane. But it's just nice to do it now so you don't have to correct it later. I'm coming back to the anvil, and I'm just going to take my scrolling tongs, and I'm just going to here. So there we go. That's a real nice, and it's on the plane. So let's get this hot, and we'll continue on. One thing just to think about before we get to that, I had mentioned this was going to be 6 inches. So an inch for that, then 5 inches for making our loop. I had already went and put a center punch mark here. It's just for my reference. You don't have to have a center punch. You can take it by eye, but at least I know where to start on the loop. So I'm going to move over to the horn on my anvil, and we'll start making the loop part next. So while that's getting hot, I just want to talk about how I'm going to make this loop. As I said, I already had a center punch mark. This is an example piece of steel. I'm going to, after I quench the finial, I'm going to lay this with the center punch mark pretty much right there. So when I start hammering it down, that's going to be the start of the loop. When I'm done, it's going to be off-centered. That's when, after we get it all done and we get it to the diameter we want, we will then heat it and we will bend it back so it is centered. So it's going to be a few multiple steps, but learning to use the horn to do your rounding is really a good thing to learn, and this is what we're working on today. All right, so I've got this hot. I'm going to put it here. First of all, quench my finial. So there's what we have right now. So I'm going to get it hot, and we're going to continue to work this. And so we're going to put this back on. So now we've got, this is roughly 2 inches. The next heat, I'm going to quench this portion, and then I'm going to start tapping it back to get it into position, and then we'll do some final rounding um, as we get this into shape. We're just about there. It's looking really, really good. And the reason why I want to quench this portion here is because I'm going to hammer it back, and as I'm hammering it back, I want this part to bend. I don't want this part to get messed up. Okay, back to the anvil. So now I've got that part quenched. And I'm still using the horn of the anvil because I just want to get it rounded a little bit. Okay, so that's not looking bad. It's still kind of oval shaped. So now I've got to heat this up, and I've just got to work on getting it round, and I think we'll be good. So now all we got to do is just start working on rounding. And a lot of that is just working around as we hammer, and it will start to take shape. Sometimes you need to open up the circle a little bit, and that's no big deal. All you do is you hammer this back, that opens it up, and then we work on closing it. So here we are. All we got to do now is just work on closing this back in. I think we will have our handle. Okay, so we're just going to put this on the horn. Work that. Put everything back into plane. Now at this point, a lot of it is just adjustments. I still want to close this up a little bit more, but it's really taking shape, and I think it's looking really good. So we're going to heat up, and we'll just do some minor adjustments, and I'll be right back. So what I want to do is I just want to open this up just ever so slightly. And that I am happy with. I think that looks really nice. So we're almost finished with this project. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to move the camera back. And once I move the camera back, we're going to talk about the last step for this project. So here's our finished product. So what I'm going to do with the part we're working on after it gets cool, I'm going to come down 1 inch, and I'm going to center punch it right here. I'm going to come down 4 inches, and I'm going to center punch that. I really don't need to center punch the bottom. I just need the top, because I know once I lay it here, this is 4 inches. And just like we did on making the fork portion, I am going to flatten this on both sides, 4 inches, till it's a ½ inch wide, and I have my mark on the anvil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to center punch on this 1 inch down where our hook portion finished. I'm just going to come down right here, and I'm going to get it really good so I know where to start. So now once I bring this back in the fire, I'm going to have this center punch here. I'm going to flatten this on both sides, and again, we got to make sure that we keep it even on both sides. And then we'll do the final twist, and we will have this project done. So now that I've got it hot, I'm going to place it right here, my center punch. And I'm just going to work it down. I'm going to flip it over because we want to try to keep this centered as possible. Then before we heat, we want to work our edges. Make sure that everything is square again. Okay. So we're about halfway there. So let's get it hot again. Back at the anvil. And as you're working this steel, you're going to see maybe one side is kind of not moving like the rest. Just focus your attention with a couple of blows on that portion, and it will move right out nice as can be for you. Straighten it back up. And the one thing you're going to notice during all this is everything's going to get knocked out of kilter. So just kind of keep ahead of that. So I think we're about one more heat, maybe two from being finished. Okay, that looks almost good. Let's double check it here. I just want to hit right here a couple more times after I get it hot. I want to put everything back into plane again, and then we'll talk about doing the twist. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to lay everything this lengthwise just so I can get it all back and true. We'll have to do one final truing on it after we do the twist, and that'll be with our wooden hammer and board. So there we have it. This is what we're working with right now. It looks pretty good. We're going to heat this up. After we heat this up, we're going to quench up here because we don't want our round portion messed up. And we're going to do the twist. I'm going to move the camera over to the vise, and we're going to talk about how we're going to do the twisting on this. So while I'm waiting for the piece to get hot, this is our finished piece. But this is what we're going to do. I'm going to lock it in the vise. I'm going to make sure that everything's in alignment. This won't be twisted yet, but I'm going to take this piece of steel. I'm going to lock it in here. I'm going to be lifting up, and I'm going to do one complete slow twist. That's all there is to doing a flat twist. So we'll be right back as soon as this gets good and hot and I get this top portion quenched. Okay, so we got this in. Now all we're going to do now is just take our time while we're pulling up. And we're going to give it one good twist. Getting a little loose on me. That's one complete twist. I'm going to go ahead and give it another twist while I've still got some heat in it. And I'm going to heat it up so I can finish out this twist so it all moves evenly. Just going to finish our twist. If it hadn't slipped out of the vise on my first twist, we would have been done by now. But that happens. So I think that looks really, really good right now. So about all we have to do right now is just make sure everything's in plane. And will be finished. So the one thing I do notice is that it is out just a little of kilter. I just need to crank this handle a little bit more. Let me do that real quick, and then we'll go look at the whole final product. All right, so there's our finished hot dog fork. This was our example. They look really, really close. I'm happy with this one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it was a little longer than most, but we had a lot to do on this project, and we've learned a lot. We've learned how to do cutting with chisels. We've learned how to work on the horn of the anvil. We've worked on getting two pieces of steel to look as similar as possible. That is a huge skill to learn in blacksmithing. We learned how to make a round handle. We learned how to do a flat twist. The only things left for this is I'm going to heat it up one more time and hit it real good with the wire brush, get it good and clean, and then I'm going to spray paint it, and it will be ready to use. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps me help you. I've got another video coming out in a week. I'm kind of sticking with the theme of outdoors and cooking. We're going to be doing some punching and drifting. I'll let you try to figure out what we're going to make. If you think you know what we're going to make, leave a comment and make your guess. If you get it right, I'll give you a shout out in the next video. So until then, blacksmith safe, have a great day, and I'll see you in about a week.